Can you only take action when you feel like it? Or do you have the determination to keep going even in difficult moments? The answer lies neither in luck nor talent. The true difference is in the ability to act regardless of motivation. If you only complete your tasks when you feel inclined, you will never develop true discipline. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is shaped daily through repetition and unwavering commitment. How many times have you started something with enthusiasm only to give up shortly after? How many promises of change have been made and broken due to a lack of consistency? The time has come to abandon dependence on motivation and take control of your own discipline. In this video, I will teach you how to break this cycle of inconsistency and build the strength needed to achieve any goal. But before we begin, I want you to do something essential. Go to the comments and write the following phrase: "Today I take another step toward my best version." This is not just a comment, but a commitment to yourself. By writing this phrase, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter, where consistency and discipline cease to be choices and become an essential part of who you are. Let's go. The science of willpower. Willpower is not a matter of talent or luck, but of practice. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, and now neuroscience confirms what they intuited. The true power of determination lies in the ability to do what must be done, even without motivation. There is a specific area of the brain responsible for this function: the anterior cingulate cortex. It activates whenever we face a challenging task that our mind tries to avoid. This is the center of mental resilience, where the battle between comfort and determination takes place. The more you challenge yourself, the stronger this region becomes, just like a muscle that grows with training. Epictetus taught that we should not flee from difficulties, but face them willingly, for it is in them that we become stronger. Science reinforces this idea. The anterior cingulate cortex develops when we confront uncomfortable challenges, not when we merely engage in difficult tasks that we already enjoy. Real growth happens when we resist the temptation to avoid effort. If you push for one more repetition at the gym, despite exhaustion, this part of the brain is activated. If you resist the urge to eat something harmful, your willpower expands. But if you only do tasks that are already pleasurable, the impact is reduced. Without resistance, there is no evolution. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should act with reason, not impulse. Willpower is the tool that allows us to do this, but it does not grow in comfort. It strengthens through effort. Each time you choose the harder path, each time you refuse to give in to laziness or immediate desires, you are shaping a more resilient mind. And this is not just a philosophical principle, it is a biological reality. The repetition of these physical and mental behaviors literally transforms your brain. You become the person who does what needs to be done, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. The secret to strengthening willpower is not in isolated acts of discipline, but in consistency. Seneca warned about the dangers of indulgence and lack of self-control. He said that those who always choose the easy path end up becoming weak. Neuroscience reinforces this idea. If you constantly avoid discomfort and give in to every passing desire, your anterior cingulate cortex does not strengthen, and your ability to resist temptation weakens. The practical application is simple. Do one more repetition when you think you've reached your limit. Take cold showers, not for pleasure, but to train tolerance to discomfort. Resist procrastination when your mind searches for excuses to delay. Every small act against comfort strengthens your discipline and reshapes your mind. Stoicism teaches that self-control is the key to freedom. Those who do not master their own minds become prisoners of their impulses. But self-control is not acquired through mere desire. It is built through daily practice. Both science and Stoic philosophy converge on one undeniable truth. Discipline is not a gift, it is a construction. Our brain always seeks to conserve energy. That is why, when we need to act, an internal conflict arises. I'm tired, I'll do better tomorrow, just this once won't matter. A little rest makes no difference. But here's the crucial point. Every time you give in, you reinforce the habit of quitting. Every time you choose to act, you make it harder to back down in the future. Self-discipline is developed in these small acts of resistance against procrastination. The great philosophers warned about the importance of action, emphasizing that the moment we start overthinking whether or not to do something, we have already lost half the battle. The most efficient way to eliminate this internal debate is to act before your mind has time to argue. If you need to wake up early, get up without hesitation. If you need to train, start without debating with yourself. Do not allow your mind to create space for arguments. If you always justify why today is not the ideal day, you will become someone who always finds reasons not to act. But if you commit to finishing what you start, even without motivation, action becomes a natural reflex. That is the difference between those who achieve great things and those who remain stagnant. The former have learned to ignore the voice of self-sabotage and simply act. To put this into practice, start small. It is not necessary to change radically overnight. Just decide that you will not give in when your mind suggests the easy way out. If you are running and feel like stopping, keep going a little longer. If you are studying and lose focus, regain it immediately. If a task is difficult and you feel the urge to quit, finish what you started. Each decision strengthens your character and weakens the tendency toward comfort. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from self-mastery. You may not control the external world, but you can choose whether to give in to your excuses or overcome them. And when you stop negotiating with yourself and simply act, you discover something powerful. Most of your limitations were never in the world around you, but in your own mind. Now put this into practice. Think of something you have been postponing, something you know you need to resolve, but keep delaying. Now say out loud, your name is aware that this must be done and will act now. Do not wait for motivation to arise. Simply make the decision as if you were receiving the best advice from a mentor. At first, it may feel unusual, but over time, you will realize how this small shift in your internal dialogue can significantly increase your ability to act without relying on emotional states. Remember, whenever you face procrastination or lack of motivation, you are not just the person who feels lazy. You are also your own guide and trainer. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you genuinely want to see grow. Use the third person to detach from excuses and make decisions with clarity. Over time, this simple change in mindset can bring a significant impact to your life. But by training your mind to find satisfaction in progress and effort, you transform the challenge into a new form of pleasure. Reflect on the experiences that have truly brought lasting happiness to your life. Not fleeting pleasures, but real achievements. Completing a project, improving your health, developing a new skill. These are valuable rewards, but they take time. The secret is to make future rewards as desirable as immediate ones. You can do this by visualizing your progress, recognizing how each choice brings you closer to your goal, and celebrating small victories. Creating an environment that supports good habits, reducing temptations, and reinforcing positive decisions is essential. The goal is not to eliminate pleasure, but to direct it toward what truly strengthens you. The next time you face a choice between something easy and pleasurable in the present, or something challenging but rewarding in the future, remember, your brain will always seek instant gratification by default, but it is up to you to decide whether to continue acting on autopilot or take control. When you learn to find satisfaction in discipline and long-term results, that is when you truly win. Not because you suppressed your desires, but because you aligned them with a life worth living. And when you learn to appreciate the journey, motivation stops being an obstacle. You no longer need to wait for inspiration to act because you understand that every small step forward represents a victory. The pace of progress is irrelevant. What matters is moving forward. After all, the only real failure is giving up. If you keep evolving, gaining knowledge, and moving toward your goals in one way or another, you are already succeeding. How to regain focus in a world full of distractions? We live in an age of hyperstimulation. Everything around us is designed to capture our attention and constantly activate the brain's reward circuits. From social media to coffee, from sugar to music, every little stimulus triggers a dopamine release, providing momentary pleasure. But there is a problem. When dopamine is released excessively and easily, the brain gets used to it and becomes less sensitive. Over time, it demands increasingly intense stimuli to feel the same satisfaction. What was once exciting loses its appeal. What was once pleasurable becomes monotonous. Worst of all, simple activities like reading, working, or having face-to-face conversations start to feel meaningless. This constant bombardment of stimuli severely damages our ability to focus on tasks that require effort. Why read a book when TikTok offers summaries in seconds? Why go for a walk when you can get an instant dose of pleasure by watching short videos? Why dedicate yourself to something challenging when every phone notification delivers an immediate reward? Without realizing it, we are conditioning our brains to seek quick and superficial gratifications, undermining discipline and long-term motivation. To regain control, it is essential to reduce this dependence and reprogram the brain to seek more natural and lasting sources of satisfaction. A simple yet transformative practice is to engage in activities without relying on external stimuli. If you always train while listening to music, try working out in silence. If you need coffee to concentrate, try starting your day without it. If you usually check your phone while eating, try enjoying your meal without distractions. It is not about completely eliminating these habits, but teaching your brain to function without these crutches. The Stoics valued moderation and self-control. For them, true fulfillment did not come from fleeting pleasures, but from mastery over oneself. Another essential point is allowing the brain to have rest periods, known as a dopamine fast. This does not mean eliminating pleasures entirely, but giving the brain time to regain sensitivity to small things. Spending a day away from social media without coffee or music may feel uncomfortable at first. Motivation does not come out of nowhere. Many people believe they need to feel motivated to act, but in reality, action generates motivation. If you start writing even without the will to do so, within minutes, you will be engaged. If you begin a workout without energy, soon you will feel more willing. You should not wait to feel motivated to act. You should act so that motivation appears. The most lasting satisfaction does not come from small dopamine hits, but from real progress. The key is to find joy in the process. Those who focus only on the final result get frustrated easily, but those who learn to value each small step develop unshakable motivation. Having a purpose is also a powerful filter. When you have clarity about what you truly desire, you stop wasting energy on irrelevant things. You do not need external incentives because your inner vision is what drives you. You are not distracted by momentary pleasures because you understand that true satisfaction lies in building something meaningful. The most disciplined people are not those with the greatest willpower, but those who have aligned their actions with a purpose that inspires them. If you feel like you lack motivation, maybe the goal you are pursuing is not truly significant to you. Ask yourself, what really moves you? What problem would you like to solve in the world? What legacy do you want to leave behind? When you find this answer, you will have discovered an inexhaustible source of energy. With a well-defined purpose, you do not need anyone to push you forward. Each day becomes an opportunity to advance, and when you reach your goal, you will realize that the true prize was not the achievement itself, but the transformation that happened along the way. The 50-day rule, the secret to building habits that last. If you want to create a new habit or transform your life in any way, committing to doing it for 50 consecutive days could be the key to success. It is not about acting only when you feel like it or when you have free time, but making this action a non-negotiable part of your routine. Choose a habit: exercise, reading, learning a language, waking up early, meditation, writing. Most people start excited, but as soon as the initial motivation fades, they give up. However, when you decide that quitting is not an option, your mindset changes. It is no longer about willpower, but an absolute commitment. The biggest mistake in most attempts at change is the lack of consistency. We think we can improve through occasional effort, but the truth is that real progress happens through constant repetition. If for 50 days you act with discipline, your brain will start accepting this behavior as part of your identity. It stops being something you try to do and becomes something you simply do. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what is within our control and develop self-discipline to achieve our goals. Motivation is fleeting, but consistent action is what generates concrete results. Epictetus said that it is not what happens to us that matters, but how we react to it. In this context, it does not matter if you are tired, unmotivated, or had a bad day. What truly counts is that you keep your daily commitment with no excuses. The most important days are the ones when you do not feel like it. When everything is easy, anyone can move forward. But it is in difficult moments that true transformation happens. A great strategy to maintain discipline is tracking your progress. Marking each completed day on a calendar or app creates a psychological drive to continue. And if a day is tough, remember, 10 minutes is still better than nothing. The essential thing is consistency. After 50 days, what once seemed difficult will become a natural part of your routine. The key to any achievement is not talent or initial motivation, but consistency. The 50-day rule is a powerful tool to ensure this consistency and promote lasting changes. If you apply it with determination, you will see extraordinary results in any area of your life. The great adversary of willpower. The greatest adversary of willpower is living in a world that preaches constant comfort, minimal effort, and the avoidance of pain. But the truth is that everything that truly matters lies beyond discomfort. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens through overcoming challenges. When you face difficulties, persist in tasks you dislike, handle defeats and criticism without giving in, you are strengthening an invincible mindset. And this goes beyond the physical. It's a mental battle. Willpower grows when you challenge your own negative thoughts and refuse to let them dominate you. We all have an inner voice that tells us to quit, to avoid effort, to leave things for later. But every time you ignore that voice and move forward, it loses strength. And every time you give in, that voice grows stronger. The choice is yours. Feed your determination or feed your excuses. The Stoics taught that true strength doesn't come from external circumstances, but from our ability to endure and persist. Marcus Aurelius said that the obstacle is the way. If you learn to see every challenge as an opportunity for growth, you will become unstoppable. The secret is not to avoid difficulties, but to use them as leverage for your growth. Discomfort, fear, and exhaustion are part of the process. The sooner you accept this, the faster you will evolve. If you want to develop unshakable willpower, stop waiting for challenges to come to you. Seek adversity, test your limits, intentionally step out of your comfort zone. If you run from difficulty, your mind weakens. If you face it, your mind strengthens. In those moments when you feel like you can't go on, push forward. That's exactly where the difference lies between those who remain mediocre and those who break barriers. Don't look for the easy way out. Don't rely on motivation. Just do what needs to be done, because every time you overcome that internal resistance, you become stronger. And in this world, willpower is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who stay in the same place. The power of small steps. How great changes happen. How can you transform your life consistently? Why do so many people fail when trying to change? The most common mistake is believing that transformation must be radical and immediate. The idea of a drastic turnaround may seem inspiring, but in practice, it rarely works. When we try to change everything at once, we become overwhelmed, exhausted, and end up giving up. That's why real progress doesn't happen through sudden changes, but through small, continuous steps. Every successful person you admire didn't get there overnight. They weren't born with impeccable discipline or extraordinary skills. What they did was evolve gradually, accumulating small daily victories that over time created a massive impact. It's not about changing everything at once and expecting instant results, but rather about implementing small daily improvements that, when added together, make a significant difference. If you want to achieve a big goal, trying to do everything at once may seem impossible. But when you break it down into small actions, everything becomes more manageable. Want to improve your fitness? You don't need to start with long, intense workouts. Just move for 10 minutes a day. Want to read more? You don't need to finish a book per week. Just read a few pages daily. The problem is that many people underestimate the power of small progress. Because the initial results are subtle, they think they're not making progress and give up. But what they don't realize is that these simple habits, repeated over time, lead to significant change. When they look back months later, they see how much they've evolved. This concept can be applied to any aspect of life. Now imagine that someone was watching you. If someone were expecting you to keep your word, it would be much harder to give up. Think about when you share a goal with someone else. Publicly committing makes you feel more inclined to follow through. The same logic applies to self-discipline. Now visualize another scene. You are alone. The bed is comfortable. No one will notice if you fail. This is when your discipline is truly tested. No eyes on you, no immediate consequences, no one holding you accountable. But the real impact isn't external, it's internal. Every time you give in, you weaken your ability to stay strong in the future. The solution is to act with discipline regardless of whether someone is watching. An effective tactic is to imagine that someone is always evaluating your performance. It could be someone you admire, someone you respect, or even your future self. Ask yourself, if this person were here, would I keep my commitment or find an excuse? This simple mental shift can reinforce your commitment even in solitude. Your environment also plays a fundamental role in consistency. If you want to build a habit, create visual cues that reinforce your decision. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep a book in sight if you want to read more. Use reminders to stay on track. Reducing obstacles and making the right choice easier will make your journey smoother, even on tough days. The Stoics taught that true virtue doesn't depend on external recognition, but on our integrity. Seneca stated that we should act correctly both in public and in private, because what we do when no one is watching defines our essence. The goal is not to impress others, but to build inner strength that doesn't rely on external validation. If you stay true to your principles when no one is around, then you truly own yourself. Instability doesn't come from a lack of ability, but from allowing too many excuses. If we want consistency, we need to eliminate dependence on motivation and act with firmness, regardless of circumstances. It is in solitude that true character is forged, because in the end, the only judgment that truly matters is your own. Harnessing the power of cold exposure. The key to success lies in persistence. When you turn this practice into a habit, your brain starts associating cold exposure with a mental reset, making it easier to overcome procrastination and boost performance. Many people report that after a cold shower, they can tackle complex tasks more easily. And the most interesting part? The increase in dopamine isn't momentary. Its levels can remain elevated for hours, providing a continuous state of focus and determination. Moreover, research indicates that frequent exposure to cold strengthens your ability to handle stress, making you less susceptible to everyday adversities. This is an essential skill for cultivating a high-performance mindset. If you want to adopt this technique, start gradually. You don't have to plunge directly into freezing water. You can begin with a warm shower and lower the temperature in the final moments. Another option is to simply immerse your hands or face in cold water, as this also activates the sympathetic nervous system. The goal isn't to cause suffering, but to build mental resilience. The real impact of cold exposure isn't just in its physical effects, but in the message you send to yourself. By deliberately choosing discomfort, you prove that you have control over your choices. If you found this content useful, leave a comment. If you don't know what to write, just type gratitude, so I know you watched until the end. If you're not part of the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe now and join our community. Stoicism is full of lessons like this that can be applied daily. That's why I encourage you to keep exploring this philosophy. Here are 2 videos filled with Stoic teachings to deepen your knowledge. See you soon.